Today we're going to look at a climate survey results that we handed out to 19 teachers at Arnold Magnet Academy. This is a school in Columbus, Georgia. I'm doing this for a project that I'm working on at Jacksonville State University for a class EFD 615, which is a leadership class, and my name is Charles Freeman. First, what we're going to do, we're going to look at a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be talking about today when we dive into these 19 total surveys. Now, the purpose of what we're doing this for is we're trying to get the teacher's insight of how to positively affect, looking at the pros and looking at the cons of what their feedback is on the school's climate, the school's culture. Are they giving the students what they need to succeed in the classroom? We're also going to look at the background information of the 19 that took the survey. Find this important just to figure out a little bit of insight on the 19 total teachers. We're going to look at the results from those 19 surveys, which are 21 questions long. We're going to dive in, see the data. We're going to look at, analyze the data, see where maybe the root cause of the actual, work in progress, what we're trying to do right here from a leadership standpoint, pinpoint it, and then move on. We're looking to look also at the implementations. The implementations are what we're really wanting to do for the pros and those cons, seeing what we're succeeding at, seeing what we need to work on, and putting together a game plan to try to better our school at Arnold. The conclusion, we're going to talk briefly about what we have concluded, how we're going to do that, and really move it forward. Now, the purpose, like I said briefly, the purpose of this 19 surveys was to gather the insight of the teachers at Arnold Magnet Academy. We're trying to see how they feel from a climate standpoint to a culture standpoint, to seeing how Arnold is Arnold and what makes up Arnold, seeing if it's safe, seeing if it's not safe, seeing if students are bringing inappropriate things into school, and if we're condoning a positive learning environment for all. Now, a little background information that I spoke briefly on. This is background information that isn't to do with necessarily the survey, but the surveyors, the ones that actually took the survey, is what we're going to look at right now. Now, our first category that we're looking at would be ethnicity. Out of the 19 total surveys taken, primarily the ones that took it were of white ethnicity at 68% out of the 19. Second, right here, what we're going to look at is gender. The leading number of that was going to be female with 63%. A whopping 63% were female at Arnold Magnet Academy. Next, what we're going to look at is years of experience on the job. This is key right here for me. If I'm moving from a leadership standpoint, I really want to look to see how many years the teachers have been on the job. Experience is number one when it comes to teaching. It's going to say that 52% have 1 to 5 years of teaching, meaning they're going to be able to relate to the students. Now they've just got to gain that respect from the students, and how they approach that is what we're going to dive in deeper to. Education is going to be the fourth peer that we're going to look at. 52% have less than 2 degrees, meaning they either have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in their content area. We did have a few out of the 19. One had a doctorate and a couple had their specialist. With the 2 degrees, you're going to notice that they're going to have pretty decent classroom management skills, maybe needing to work a little bit on their content area though. Last but not least was the primary language given by the actual 19. Whopping 100% spoke English. We had no secondary languages out of those 19 surveys. Now, what we're going to do right here is we're actually going to look at the results. These are the 21 questions that they responded to, being the teachers right here out of those 19 total surveys. Now, this only breaks it down, question 1 through 19, and we pinpointed actually right here with this arrow. In a second, you're going to see what we are focusing on from a leadership standpoint team, of what we think is a pro, possibly a con, and then how we're going to work those into our implementations, and then our conclusion at the end. Now, question number 4 stood out to us when we looked at the data right here. After analyzing it, 12 of the 19 total surveys right here stated that they agreed with this number 4, which is that students at this school fight a lot. To me, that would be a con. I mean, obviously we don't want students fighting. We want them learning. We want them engaging in the books rather than thinking if they're safe at their environment. This is a positive learning environment for all, and that is our overall implementation, what we're going to want to focus on and what we'll talk about here in a little bit. Now, when we look at these columns, you're going to notice that I have a strongly disagree, disagree, not sure, agree, and strongly agree. Those are the 5 peers that were actually already on the survey, so that's what we're going to go by with those. Now, the results right here from number 11 to 19, which you're going to see. Question number 17. Question number 17 was that parents are supportive of schools and activities. Unfortunately, at Arnold Magnet Academy, we saw that this was a disagree. We also find this is a con in our school right here. We need to continue to work on our community to help build our climate and our culture at Arnold Magnet Academy. If we can really get the parent support, I feel like they're going to have our back in the tough situations that we might need to really push and motivate some students to really drive the test scores, and what we're looking for is the climate. The results right here from number 20 to 25, we're going to see number 20. That was the highest one that we've had from 20 to 25, and it was an agree. Number 20 states that teachers at this school work to foster a positive school climate. That's a pro. We really invest a lot in our teachers. Our teachers invest a lot of time in our students, and we think that they're really putting forth the effort, even with the little experience that we saw from their background of 1 to 5 years, that they're really fostering and working hard for these children at this school. Now, positive results, okay? The positive results that we took away from this survey is that teachers at this school foster and support a climate for students. What we just talked about, question number 20, this is key. You have to have teachers that are engaged and really loving to what they do. Getting up in the morning, really coming in and trying to educate the student, and then really just being a key role model. If we can have role models at the school, we're going to have good students, and it's going to really work on our culture, and then it's going to work on the climate of the school to hinder a positive learning environment. Next, we see that students at this school are capable of high achievement and standardized tests. This was a positive when we looked at the results. Out of the 19 total, this was one of the top tiers in our positive agrees that we had. For a standardized exam, the teachers are stating that they are capable of high achievement, meaning that they have it, but we just got to continue from our teaching standpoint to drive and control the rigor in the classroom and really work with those students, differentiating and kind of driving them to become that model citizen in the classroom that we know that they can be. Now, last but not least on this positive result, what we see is that teachers would benefit from more professional development provided by the district. Who wouldn't? We see that any type of experience is going to help out the teacher in the classroom. So this comes from a district standpoint. We might need more classroom management to understand from a year 1 to 5 teacher, which we saw from the data, that's what we are. That might be something that we need to send a couple of our teachers to continue to work on their classroom management, to maybe prevent, like we saw on question number 4, the fighting in the class. What is instigating that fighting? What is driving that? This could be a positive that we look at to really help analyze that data. So what we're going to ask our district for is that we want more professional development provided. Needs improvement. Right here we're going to see some of the cons that we saw in that survey from the teachers and what we thought about the school's climate. Bullying and violence. Like we said, number 4 question right there is there's a lot of fights. We see that students are not engaging in positive communication. We don't know if that is more from stemming outside of school or what they're seeing in school, if it's more nature versus nurture right there. We've got to continue to work on, number 1, stopping the bullying and violence. That is our biggest concern right now. We want to make sure that everybody comes to Arnold Magnet Academy ready to learn, feeling safe. When they get on that bus or when they walk to school or hop in the car, that they know that nothing like this is going to happen and they're here to learn, and that way it's really going to drive our test scores up. Parent involvement, like we stated, right there from question number 17, is we need more parent involvement at the school, not only in the school, but also in the events, basketball, any type of track and field. The more parents that we get out there, the better we're going to feel that they're going to have our back in those tough times. And I feel as a teacher, when you have the parents on board, you're going to get more out of those kids because they're really going to invest in you and you're going to invest in them. And it makes it more of a climate and culture of a family. And that's overall goal at Arnold. What we're trying to get is more of a family feel. If we can get the family feel, then we know that we're going to continue to drive the rigor in the classroom. And like we stated, the test scores are going to happen because we know that the students can do them. Another needs of improvement, this school is a safe place to work in. With the bullying and fighting, some of the teachers have actually stated that they don't feel safe. I know one of the questions stated that, do you think that students bring in guns or inappropriate objects to school? And that was a high indicator that they said yes as well. So we need to, number 1, limit this from an administration top-down approach and really focus on making our school a safe and nurturing environment for learning. When we can get that, we can really hit on that culture aspect, and then we can see the results that we're really needing. Now, Possible implementations, what we're going to see right here, possible implementation, instructional leadership. Okay, we got to find the root cause, the leadership team. We have to find that core invested group and continue to drive and ask questions in the leadership committee. All right, we need the data. We need the data to look at the leadership committee of maybe where we need to see. Maybe the fights are happening in gym. Maybe the fights are happening in the hallway during transition. If we can pinpoint those areas after talking as a leadership team, then we are there going to better the school, and it's going to have that climate and culture that we're looking for. Clear and positive focus mission, okay? If we can find the fidelity right there and we can really focus on our mission, then we're going to be able to have the commitment for that school. Safe environment, that's really what we're talking about right now. We have to promote a safe environment. Promotes learning. Instead of promoting throwing fists, we've really got to promote put the books in their hands rather than throw the fist. Free and fear. Like I talked about right here, we've got to make sure that we are free of the fear of coming to school, and we want the kids to wake up encouraged and ready to learn. If we can really hit on these three right here, finding the root cause, really working on the commitment of the teachers and the students, and to promote learning, I feel that the climate at Arnold Madden Academy, there is no top. Now, continued implementations right here. Possible implementations that we can look at is the climate or high expectations. This rigor confidence. We want the students to go in and we want them to fail so that they can succeed. If we don't let them fail, then they're never going to learn. So we want to make sure that we are instilling confidence, but also really challenging them, and then hopefully we'll see that success right there when we've over-challenged them to work on those standardized tests. Frequent monitoring of student progress. All right, data. On the leadership team, we always talk about data, and then we always talk about analyzing the data. At Arnold Madden Academy, we have a PBIS team, and that's really working on the positive behaviors, and we dive into that, but also coming from a testing standpoint. We want to track data notebooks. We have to do things such as this in the classroom and make the learner responsible for their own learning. If they take investment in it, they'll go ahead and you'll see that return on the investment with the student. Now, we've got to continue, like we talked about in the previous slides, talking about the learning environment and keeping it a positive learning environment. Positive home and school relations, like we talked about, that was one of our big indicators that we saw in the data, is that we didn't have as much parent involvement from a teacher standpoint, what we thought from a parent standpoint. Okay, communication, all right, it starts with the teacher. It might not be that the parent knew that there was a game or knew that they had a meeting that they needed to attend to, or they didn't know that they had a test coming up. Sometimes the student's not going to take accountability, and then we need to go bypass them and have that communication outside the building with that parent. That is their role. They need to motivate as well and make that family feel that I was talking about. Involvement. The parent involvement, number one, is going to stop all the bullying. If we can stay in communication with the parent, we're going to see the culture and the climate continue to grow. Now, possible implementations, the last one right here, is maximize learning opportunities. Maybe we do something after school. If we notice that a student is behind, maybe we stay after 30 minutes and put a study group on. All right, coaches, maybe we can go ahead and we can start a study and learn group after school. If you have somebody on your team that is maybe making a B or lower, that you make sure that they're going to study hall and make sure that they are mandated to make a certain GPA to be on a team or to be on a club, an after-school art club or something. Classroom management is what we talked about as well, asking for more classroom management for our year 1 through 5 teachers and implement more classroom management so that we will not see those fights or that bullying in the institution of Arnold Madden Academy. We must let them know that we do not condone bullying or fighting for classroom management. Now, these are the 7 correlative or effective school strategies that we're going to implement. Now, conclusion. All right, results showed areas of needed improvement. All right, so the results really saw that we needed to focus more on the improvement side of, number one, talking to the families, reaching out to them, making sure that we make those communications. We got to make sure that, number one, we're stopping the bullying. If we can stop the bullying, the results showed that that was the number one area that we really needed to focus on. And then fostering and supporting a climate, that would be a positive. We really got to make sure that we're looking at the positives as well as the negatives. Immediate action needs to be taken. This is obvious that we don't need to wait around as a leadership team. We need to make sure that we're talking with the teachers and giving the teachers the data to succeed. We see that right now we need to talk about bullying and we need to talk about fostering a better culture for the school. This needs to take immediate action, and we need to start this immediately. Data needs to be given to the leadership team on a daily basis. So we need to go ahead and see, we need to do more of these surveys to get more feedback from the teachers to see how we can help the teachers from a leadership standpoint. If we're not given the data, we can't analyze the data, and we can't continue to drive the rigor in the classroom and the overall climate of the school. Allow staff school-wide. That's what we're going to do, is that we did 19, we really need to do the whole staff. 77 total staff members need to be able to take this assessment right here, the climate survey, so we can gather more evidence and really drive the conversation and find that root cause of what is going to continue to help Arnold Magnet Academy. If we can find and really dive in deep to that data and analyze it, you know, the sky's the limit. That's the end of my presentation about Arnold Magnet Academy Climate Survey. Thank you guys for watching.